Hey, Stolen Cousins. So, I'm gonna start off by saying I'm cramping. So, if you see me huffing and puffing or even like daydreaming, it's because my belly hurts. You know? Other than that, like, comment, and subscribe because we're cousins. And let's get straight into it. This one is True Basement Horror Stories. It says don't watch when you're alone. And guess who's alone? Right? So let's get into it. I'm gonna try to like sit here so you guys can see me. Because if I get up here, all close personal and y'all business, then the light from outside is really popping today. And it's supposed to be like winter still. I don't think fall has. I don't think it's spring yet. It's supposed to be winter and the sun is beaming. But let's get straight into it. SSG Animations. We love them. Like, if you follow their page, make sure you like and comment on their videos and subscribe to their channel as well. I said I was gonna keep this out so I could, be aware. Like I said, I'm home alone. It's me and my dog. New intro. Oh, we see you. I need an intro of me just babbling before
Basements have served a purpose for centuries. Whether someone has used them for storage or hold prisoners, they've had practical use. Considering the fact that some have been used to hold prisoners, some contain hidden places where people have endured torture. It's a tale as old as time, and it's what makes people afraid of
those
basements.
Babies?
Something about being underground in a dark, dark place is unsettling, no matter what is down there. I'm Ned, and my son Fallon is turning 14 years old, and insisted he wanted his bedroom to be in the basement. I'm becoming a man, Dad.
That's crazy.
I need my own space. My wife Alicia placed a full plate of pancakes, eggs, and bacon in front of him.
We should let him, Ned. I can even help you set it up. How would you like that, Fallon?
You don't have a say. You're not my mom, and I don't need your help.
Oh!
I had just gotten married to Alicia about 6
now
months ago.
Now fuck you in that basement,
my
little boy.
ex-wife and I divorced about 2 years ago.
If I'm the wife,
Fallon has been resentful ever since, as he hasn't seen his mother.
Aww,
Try as my poor Alicia might, Fallon wouldn't accept her as a mother figure in his life. Not that Alicia tried to replace her, but the boy needed someone in that role. Fallon,
where his mama at?
We talked about this. You can't talk to Alicia like that. Like what?
Try to be nice.
I'm just stating the facts. That's what the therapist told me to do.
Okay.
The therapist didn't give you a warrant to be an asshole either. Alicia is part of this house now, and you will respect her.
He's still sad about his mama.
Fallon pushed his plate away. I have to go. Eat your breakfast, I yelled after him. I'm not hungry. He grabbed his backpack and stormed out the door.
Ugh.
Alicia sat down and placed her hand on top of mine.
I appreciate you standing up for me.
No need to thank me for that, baby.
I know, but I married a good man, and I want him to know that.
She smiled and kissed me.
No.
I married a good woman, and I know with time, Fallon will see that too.
Thank you, my love. Listen, Fallon's birthday is in 2 weeks, and if he really wants his room in the basement, I say we surprise him and create a little man cave for him. I'll design it myself, and I know some guys who can whip it up in time for his birthday.
Alicia, I'm going to call it. It's either going to be her that's cutting up, and creepy, or obviously it's going to be the little boy.
No, but being hard on him is only going to push him further.
It is.
I know how hard divorce can be on a kid. I came from a broken home, too. Let me do this for him, as my gift.
If you insist, I'll let you surprise him. Alicia was an interior designer, and with inspiration from Fallon's room and other interests, she and a crew had made up a section of the basement to be Fallon's own man cave, complete with a full-sized bed, LED lights, a flat-screen television, and gaming system. She also threw in a small refrigerator for all his soda pop and snacks.
Alicia?
By the time his birthday came around and he saw his room, his eyes lit up, and to my surprise, He hugged Alicia and thanked her over and over again.
No.
This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry for being mean.
Let's see who's going to ruin
I
it.
accept your apology.
Now that Fallon was settled in the basement, he started spending a lot of time down there. It got to the point where he was either in school or down in the basement. He didn't come up for anything. Then he started locking the basement. I didn't think anything of it until I started hearing screaming from the basement at night. I went down to see what was going on, pounding on the basement door. Fallon, I just heard screaming. Are you okay? Fine, Dad. I'm just watching a horror movie. Can you turn it down?
Open this damn door. Let me look around.
I went back upstairs, and it was quiet the rest of the night. As time went on, women began to go missing. A strange smell started wafting from the basement, and Fallon just insisted that he had left some cheese out, and as soon as he finds it, he'll dispose of it.
Fallon!
Something about his excuses didn't sit well with me.
Oh, it's
especially
Fallon.
Since he started being not only disrespectful toward Alicia, but me too. He grew agitated and unreasonable. One day, while he was at school and Alicia was on a business trip, I went down to the basement, and what I saw drained the color from my face. His man cave looked like any teenage boy's room, but the smell came from down the hall. I followed the trail, and to my horror, there was a room I didn't know about, where at least 6 women were all tied up and gagged.
Oh!
They were in nothing but a bra and underwear, clearly dehydrated.
Kidnapping people!
They looked at me with fear in their eyes. I looked around and found a video camera set up on a shelf above Fallon's bed. I took the camera and played the footage. I only made it a few seconds before I stopped and doubled over, puking all over the floor. I ran upstairs to get my phone and called the police. There was a reason we cut contact with my ex-wife, Emily. Why Fallon was in therapy. She used to go into his room at night and mark her territory, if you catch my drift.
Oh.
I went to the juvenile jail they're keeping him in to talk to him, as I haven't really seen him since they arrested him. I sat down at the desk and watched him come sit on the opposite side of the window that separated us. We each picked up the phone. Hey, Fallon. Hi, Dad. What did you do to those women? A sinister smile crept across his lips, and the look in his eyes was not of my son.
No.
But a demon. I needed her, Dad. I needed Mom. She used to make me feel good. And then you took that away from me. I wanted it back. I had to get that feeling back. You took her away. So this is all your fault. I hung up the phone and stood. To not only hear that my son was being violated, but he also seemed to enjoy it and was violating other women to seek that pleasure. I was so ashamed that I couldn't look at him ever again.
He gets that from his mama, so don't
Alicia
worry
and I
about
moved
you.
away and started a new life in a new city.
Period. Leave that little
Fallon
creepy ass boy alone.
is dead to me.
As he should be. What? Getting that creepy shit from his mama.
I'm Jim, and I'm 19 years old. I've currently moved out of my home and rented the basement.
1 second, Jim. Now, I want to say, it is different for my opinion on situation with victims is, I feel bad for whatever they went through. I do not take none of their trauma, none of their pain, none of their abuse away from them. But when they decide to start trying to dish it out on other people is when it's like, come on now. What are you really doing? You are already in therapy, little boy. And you're going to sit there and, I miss Mom. Your mom was sick. And sadly, she passed that shit down to you. So y'all both is sick. But like I said, that's his situation. Not every victim turns out that way. They don't decide to take their trauma and dish it out on other people. A lot of people decide to help people from their trauma. But there is some people. I'm sorry, let me stop picking at my husband to try to pop my hand. There is a lot of people that there's people that have been that have ooh, I'm sorry, that said it was a bit crazy. There's people that have been abused, and instead of being violent, they will try to help people. And then there's people that feel the exact opposite. They were violated, so they would like to violate other people. You know? So we feel bad for both of them, but we do not justify the fact of being hurt and hurting others. We don't justify that. We don't agree with that at all. We just, we understand it. We understand why someone might feel that way. Do we justify it? No. Is it wrong? Yes. Should they be punished for it? Yes. All right, let's get back to Jim.
I'm Jim, and I'm 19 years old. I've currently moved out of my home and rented the basement of a studio apartment. The middle-aged woman who lives in the studio apartment above me is an artist, so most of the time she's not home. I am loving the freedom I have here. However, since the day I moved in, 2 weeks ago, I think something weird is happening.
What's
This
going on,
might
Jim?
be my paranoia, but I swear, there is something in the basement other than me. Let me tell you everything from the beginning. I moved in here on a Wednesday afternoon, almost 2 weeks ago. My dad and my younger sister helped me settle down in this new place. Once they left, I decided to just eat something and play video games on my PlayStation. An hour must have passed, and I heard a faint knock on my door. I thought it must be the lady from upstairs, but when I opened the door, no one was there. I didn't think much of it and went upstairs to see if she came down for some reason. As soon as I stepped into the studio apartment, I quickly realized that it was empty. The lady was not in the house, nor was her car in the garage. Then, who might have knocked on the door? I wondered. I'm not a believer in the paranormal, so I quickly dismissed the matter and went back to playing my video games. The next night, while I was lying on my bed, scrolling through my phone, I heard a scratching noise coming from under my bed. I ignored it at first, but when the noise did not stop after a few minutes, I decided to investigate. I bent down and looked under my bed, hoping to find a rat. But when I flashed my flashlight under the bed, there was no one. I dismissed this too and climbed back on the bed. As soon as my
That's two
back hit
crazy
the bed,
things I would have left
scratching noise
over
returned.
that he dismissed.
It appeared to me that the rat must be smart, as he hid from me the first time. However, when I looked beneath my bed once more, there was nothing there. I decided to check out my whole room, but to no avail. I did not find a rat or any rodent that might be making the scratching noise. However, when I was in my bed, the scratching noise resumed. I decided to let it go for the night and to set up mouse traps the next day. Almost 4 days after me moving into the basement, the mouse traps were in place, but no mouse was caught yet. Nevertheless, the scratching noise from under my bed had not stopped. If anything, it had only become louder and louder every night.
So you know it's not a
I
rat.
spoke to the lady upstairs. Her name was Gloria, and she said that there were no rats, mice, or any other rodents in the basement, as she had done the pest control mere days before I moved in. I told her my story, and she decided to let me sleep in the spare bedroom upstairs until I caught the rat in one of my traps. This is when it all got creepier. A few days later, almost a week since I moved into the basement, it was around 1 in the afternoon, and I was completing a paper for my college that was due soon. My desk is in one corner of the room, and when I sit in front of it, I have my back to the rest of the room. While I was typing on my laptop, I could suddenly see the reflection of a man's silhouette on my laptop screen. I abruptly turned around. As I said, I did not believe in anything paranormal, so I dismissed that incident too. Convincing myself
You're
that it was
pissing
my
me off,
mind playing
Jim.
tricks on me due to the stress of work and studies. However, I kept on seeing the silhouette of the man again and again in the dark corners of my room, especially at night. Meanwhile, not a single trap had caught a rat. The scratching noise continued. That's when I decided to speak to Gloria. So, one evening, when she was busy preparing dinner, I decided to ask her about it. Hey, Gloria.
Hey, Jim. How are you doing? Everything okay down there?
Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I've been seeing a man in my room for a while. And I know I'm not a believer in ghosts and all, but this thing has started to drive me crazy. Do you know what it is? When I mentioned seeing a man, Gloria's eyes widened into saucers. This meant she knew something.
Speak! That's exactly what it
Jim,
means.
I think I should have told you this before I rented the basement to you, but the couple who lived there before you saw a silhouette of a man too. That's the reason they left.
Oh, hell no.
But when I saw you and got to know the fact that you don't believe in ghosts or anything paranormal, I decided to rent the basement out to you without telling you anything about it.
I was left speechless, but I still had to get my answers. But can you tell me anything about this thing that inhabits the basement?
Well, before this studio apartment was built, there was a big Victorian house on this property. It's said that in the late 1800s, slave trading was done in this house. They used to lock up slaves in the basement, and many of them died of malnutrition and various diseases.
Oh
there
yeah,
was a
they're
man amongst
haunting
the
y'all
slaves who
white
was brutally
ass
killed by his
people.
master in the basement of that house. I think it's his soul haunting the property ever since. The Victorian house was later demolished, and for years, the property
They don't
laid
give
abandoned.
no fucks.
People who lived around said they saw a shadowy dark figure on this property. But then I bought it and built this apartment. I too see the man sometimes, but the ghost doesn't hurt anyone, just makes his presence known to anyone who lives on the property. I did have a priest bless the property, but he told me that the soul needs revenge on its master, and it won't leave without it. However, it will never harm anyone innocent living on the property. Now it's your decision if you want to stay here or...
You've had a priest come. He said that he spoke to this ghost. The ghost said he's not going nowhere till he gets revenge. Right? You might not know how that works. So, right, because his slave master is clearly dead, right? Because you said 1800s. The next of kin. So whoever comes through with the drop of that man's blood, do you know how this works? It could be anybody. Go down there being that slave master's great grandson, grandnephew, grand cousin. Obviously, he's not a grand cousin, but ain't nobody care. Like, it blows my mind when people find stuff like that out. Like, you found out your house used to be a slave owner situation. There was a slave trade situation. The slaves were kept in the basement, and you still decide to build property on top of that land where that terror, that anger, that cruelty happened, and you feel like, oh, well, it's all right. No, that energy is now tampered with. Y'all is, and you're just letting other come in and rent the room where slaves have died. And you don't think you're going to be haunted? Y'all is people. You're lucky. You are lucky that they are not as gruesome as y'all are. Or else every person that would be going down there would be dying. Do not matter if it's next to kin, not next to kin. Anybody that come in that basement. But we ain't like y'all. So we just waiting for the next of kin. But that's crazy because it could be Jimmy.
property. Now it's your decision if you want to stay here or leave.
Get up out of there,
With
Jim.
that, she turned back to the stove. I was speechless once again. What do you guys think? Should I live in this house, or should I leave?
You're still in there?
What would you do if you were in my situation?
Oh my god, y'all, Jim is dumb as hell. Stop looking at us, dummy.
Hello,
what
guys.
we do?
This
Hey.
is Edward here.
All right, Edward.
Today I'm going to tell you the story of my childhood.
All right, don't piss
This
us
incident
off
happened
like
to
Jim
me
did.
when I was 13 years old. How can I forget
all right.
that incident? Those days were very dark and creepy for me. When I was 13, my family, me, my mom, and dad, shifted to the new house.
Summer
And we
haunted?
were very happy for the new start, but we were unaware of impending danger. Well, we shifted to the new house, had dinner at night, and went for a good sleep. As I was 13, my parents had to go to the office daily. That's why they hired a babysitter, Laura, for me, because my school holidays were going on. She even used to help me with my studies. So it was time for my parents to come home, and almost 20 minutes before Laura left for home. I was having my cake, and suddenly, I felt like I heard someone weeping slowly. In our new house, there was a basement room, and I was literally terrified because that voice was coming from the basement room. I made up my mind to check it and walked downstairs to the basement. All I could see is nothing but a dark
No,
and
it's
creepy
your
room
fault.
there. I heard something, and it wasn't a voice. It was a piece of metal dragged across the table. I felt like someone was playing with a bouncing ball. I ran to my room at once. I was very scared at that time. I told this incident to my parents when they came back home. They took this thing as a joke. They said they will clean the basement room tomorrow and they will check. First night in the house was fine, but the second night in the house went very scary. Whenever I remember that night, I get
First night wasn't
goosebumps badly.
fine?
How scary
the day
and
wasn't
creepy
fine.
that second night was. I was feeling someone's presence. I thought it was
Someone's
my
running around
parents,
your
but when I
room?
checked them, they were sleeping in their room. So that night, when I was doing my homework after dinner, I noticed very unusual and creepy things. I heard in a kid's voice say, "Edward, Edward, can you hear me? Edward."
Do your homework. Just
I
ignore
ran to
it.
my parents' room at once. I was extremely scared and didn't even sleep a wink. Next day, I got a fever and was even unable to walk because I laid in terror the previous night. I told my mother everything when my fever went down. I told my parents about the creepy voice and the kids' weeping sound. My father didn't let me go down there after that incident. The same day, my parents
Good.
went down there and cleaned the basement room together, and surprisingly, they found a letter there. There was an apology letter. When my parents bought this house, they knew about a woman named Tina. They didn't tell me about Tina because I was a kid and they were afraid about my health. After some days, I came to know about Tina when I heard two people talking about her death. She was found dead in the house, and you know that house now. Yes, that was my new house. I was really creeped out. I at once ran to my parents and asked them to leave this house immediately, but they convinced me to stay there for 4 days to arrange another apartment. My parents were very worried about my health because I was behaving differently from 2 days ago. My parents did a lot to arrange a new apartment, but it was not easy to arrange a new apartment immediately.
It's
2
not.
days had passed normally. So, only 2 days were left to stay at that house. But for me, 2 days were like 2 years. I asked my parents to sleep with me because I was afraid of that voice and creepy basement. At 2 a.m., I woke up from my sleep because I was feeling very thirsty. While she was filling the glass of water, she was whispering, "Edward, hey, Edward.
And you're no longer
You
my
know
mother.
Your father is a bad man. A bad man.
No longer
screamed.
my mom.
Dad, please help me. Dad!" That night was very horrible. I still remember that changed face of my mom. I remember her red eyes, heavy voice, creepy smile, and the way she was talking like, oh my God. My father woke up and comforted me. I told him about Mom, the way she was behaving, but my mom was unaware of all these things. When we asked her whether she remembered anything, she denied. Next day, we went to the police station to hand over that apology letter, where we all came to know that the apology letter was Tina's husband. His name was Arthur. A police officer named Mr. Brownie told us everything. Well, Tina was a good lady and she had a happy family. In her family, she had a son named Alex and a husband named Arthur.
We know the story,
Arthur was
bitch ass
Tina's
Arthur.
husband, and the apology letter was from Arthur. It had been proven that Arthur killed his son. Yes.
Guess
this all
why,
happened
y'all?
when Tina was not in the house because
You'll never
she
guess
was in
it.
the office. Alex's dad thought Alex would return home by
Comment right now. Right now. 19 minutes on the dot. Right now. Why do you think this man killed his child? And I promise you, you will not have guessed it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to give you a minute. To place your comments on why you think this man killed his child. And I bet you won't guess it. I bet you won't. Let's go. That's long enough for you to be like,
house because she was in the office. Alex's dad thought Alex would return home by 1 p.m. after school. But Alex wasn't feeling good. That's why he came home at 11 p.m. His father was unaware of it. So when Alex entered the room, he saw his dad with another lady.
cheating.
Alex caught them red-handed. He was a 14-year-old kid, but it was understandable to him that his dad
Was a
not
hoe.
good man. He argued with his father and warned him. He asked his father to apologize to his mother and tell her everything. But his father knew that Tina is a brave lady. She would never live with a person who cheated on her.
As she
Tina
shouldn't have
belonged to a
to.
rich family, and Arthur never wanted to leave her.
So you're
He knew
broke.
that if she leaves her, he would be ruined.
A
They
mooch.
argued and argued. Alex was not listening to his dad. Arthur was very angry and decided to kill his son with a knife.
Over
Stabbed Alex in the
cheating.
neck with the knife. Alex screamed, "No!" His last words were,
Killed his
"You're a
child
bad,
over cheating. His
bad
own child. Seed.
Alex died suddenly after that.
He's a
His
bitch.
father chopped up his dead body, hid it for 3 days in the basement, and later burnt it in the dense forest. His mother was unaware of this and she thought Alex had been kidnapped. They reported it to the police station, but she got nothing. But after 3 years, his father realized his mistake, what he had done that day. He realized his wife cannot live without his son, and her condition is not the same as before. He realized how much she and her son loved him, and how mean he was. Now, he wanted to tell everything to Tina because he was feeling very heavy and wanted to lighten his heart.
Shut
Arthur
up.
didn't want to live like this. So the next day, he wrote an apology letter. He wrote that he had made a big mistake, and he finished everything. He wrote about that horrible day and wrote that he is committing suicide now. Tina was shocked, and she hung herself in the room. But Arthur is still missing. Nobody knows where he has gone. When we heard that, we were all shocked and creeped out, and the next day, we left that house. I was such a scared kid, but trust me, this incident gives me chills to date.
He killed his child because he was a cheating bastard. That's crazy. That's mind-blowing. Let me know in the comments if you thought that. If you thought he killed his child. Because I promise you, when I first seen it, I did not think it was going that way. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you feel about this video. Oh, if you think this is a good video, you gotta go see my... Is it my last one? I don't know. I'll tag it because it's about some... What? Oh. What? Is it the dentist one? Either way, your mind's going to be blown. They get so gritty in that one. You got to see